Pull out your hose and grab your can. We're about to integrate another Pest Geek podcast. Hi, everybody. Frank Hernandez here, and welcome to the Pest Geek podcast, bringing you the latest information on pests, products, and politics from today's leading industry sources to help you start, manage, and grow your pest control business. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to this edition of the Pest Geek podcast. I am Frank Hernandez, your Pest Geek, and I've got a very good interview today. But before that, I wanted to cover a couple of things with you guys and bring you up to date. The Pest Geek Academy is coming along. However, it is taking a lot longer than we thought. We're still recording classes. We're still dealing with quizzes and setting up that infrastructure. So bigger undertaking than I thought. But that is coming. So stay tuned to that. You can always find out what is happening with that class or the lessons that we're putting up at the Academy by going to pestgeekpodcast.com and going to training. There you will find the Academy that is being built. And so we're working on that infrastructure, but this is a little bit more than I anticipated originally to get all this done. So letting you know about that. Also, hey, if you guys appreciate what we're doing here, you appreciate what I'm doing, what Stephen Van Tassel is doing, trying to bring you the best content and be the world's #1 pest control training podcast. If you enjoy it, hey, would you consider donating, supporting us? It's easy. Just go to pestgeekpodcast.com, hit the donate button, and whatever you feel that this podcast is worth to you, go ahead and support us. We would greatly, greatly appreciate it. And without further ado, here is our guest.
Hi, everyone. Stephen Van Tassel here, giving you another episode of Living the Wildlife for the Pest Geek podcast. So I have a great news for you today. We have a guest with me, and his name is Gregg Shumaker, and he is a trainer for the National Wildlife Control Operators Association. As you well know, I've talked about the National Wildlife Control Operators Association frequently on my podcast, so I'm very honored to have Gregg with me today. Gregg, welcome to Pest Geek Podcast.
Well, thanks for having me, Stephen.
Well, we're very glad to have you here for the Pest Geek podcast clan out here. So we want you to why don't you introduce yourself and let some people that may not be familiar with you talk a little bit about your background and how you got into wildlife control.
So after a stint in the Marine Corps, I went to college, got a degree in wildlife management, and then started working for some different government agencies. I worked as a fur bearer technician for the Michigan Department of Natural Resources. I worked as a wildlife technician for the National Park Service. I also worked as a wildlife technician for the USDA Wildlife Services. And this industry was really just starting off back then. There was no NUCOA. There was no training. I don't even think there was much of any kind of wildlife damage, periodical or magazine. But it was starting to grow, and so I decided to leave government service and start my own wildlife control business. I've owned that business now for over 23 years here in northern Michigan.
And what's the name of that business?
It's wildlife management and nuisance removal.
All right. Excellent. So I heard that you have some specialties in beaver and skunks. Is that right?
I've done a lot of beaver control. When I was working for Wildlife Services, that's pretty much all I did for them. So I became well-versed in beaver control. And we have a lot of skunks where I live, so I've always liked skunks. I had pet skunks as a child. I still have a pet skunk in my house to this very day. So,
and what's his name?
Tybalt.
Okay.
Tybalt.
What made you get a skunk as a pet?
Really just, I've had them before, but, kind of cool for marketing purposes. I don't recommend people have skunks in their house. It's a lot of work. It's not like a dog or a cat. You got about a year of hard work before you have a decent pet. So,
wow. All right. Well, you heard that from everybody. Don't make sure you follow your own state laws, by the way, everybody. So this is This is not a recommendation to go out and grab a skunk on your own. So, I understand that you're working for the National Wildlife Control Operators Association. What is your role with them?
So I've been with NUCOA for many, many years. That's how I've met Stephen probably, I don't even know how many years ago, 15 years ago. I'm the former president of NUCOA. And then after a short sabbatical, I was taking care of a lot of their training, and it just became really a full-time job. So I was hired by NUCOA to oversee their training programs, to help design, help the trainers. I don't design all the training myself. There's a lot of effort put into it by different people. Stephen has helped, many others. I try to herd the cats. And
Okay, so your job is you're the training facilitator, and so describe what your year looks like. Do you go out and personally do the training? Are you just overseeing and organizing it? A little bit of both. Describe that process for our audience.
It's really a little bit of both. I'm usually on site for most of the training events, but not all of them. This year, I didn't count them. I probably already have, 12, 15 events already planned for this year. So we're very busy. We're trying to move it around the country as much as we can to give operators the opportunity to have training kind of close to home. But there are limitations. We can't obviously be in every state. So take advantage of training if it's nearby.
Yeah, so you can. So you basically got to go where the people are, of course. Now, if someone really wants NUCOA to be in their particular location, is that possible?
It very, very much so. So we've got different ways that we do events, and the one way we do it is we call it a canned event, and we're getting more requests for that, and that's often where like a medium or larger sized company will bring us in and do in-house training for their staff. So that's available to anybody. We can reach out to NUCOA, the staff, and we can, give you pricing on that. So we will go anywhere. It doesn't matter how few people you have. If you're willing to pay a certain price, well, then we will come and give you whatever training you would like. Most of the events we're doing are sponsored by NUCOA. So, we're kind of like regional training events. So that's pretty much how that works.
Okay. So why don't we delve into some of those certified trainings that NUCOA is offering, and then maybe delve into your upcoming calendar and where you're going, and kind of give people a taste of where you're going to be at and where they could get more information.
We can certainly do that. So NUCOA, the training has really snowballed on us, which is a good thing. It started off, NUCOA had just the wildlife control operator training class, and then not too many years ago added the BAT standards. So that's in all of history of NUCOA, that's all we had. Now I'll list them off. We have the BAT standard certified course. We have a certified structural BAT management professional course, which is a 2-day course that also involves some hands-on work. We have the rodent standard certified course. We have the wildlife control operator training course, which is a 2-day course. We have the NUCOA Goose Academy, which will be taught this June in Indiana. We have the NUCOA Shooting in Sensitive Environments Level 1 and 2, which is a very intensive marksmanship course. We have the Zoonotic Disease Awareness course, and we also have a bird management course.
Wow. So you have a lot. So why don't we describe a little bit, delve into each of those a little bit more. So as what you're describing for me is, it seems like some of the courses have a level 1 and then a level 2. Are you able to go from just skip level 1 and go to level 2, or do you have to start with level 1 before you can move to level 2?
That is correct. You do have to take level 1. So, for instance, the BAT Standards Certified course, the part 1, we cover uh, some basic bat biology, some of the more common species like little brown bats, big brown bats, free-tailed bats, pallid bats. We cover some bat behavior, identification. We also cover service agreement language for bat removal and guano removal. We talk about seasonal restrictions, a little bit about pricing, decontamination techniques, rabies, exposure to the client, especially, as well as yourself. And we discussed white nose syndrome. So this class, you have to take this class in order to take the 2-day certified structural bat management course. On a very good note here, we have filmed the bat standards class, and soon we'll be putting it online. So students who want to take this class, who want to take the part 2 class, the structural class, they will be able to go online and take that class. It's not quite the same thing as if you're doing in-person training. In-person training is always going to be better, but I think Keith Markin and myself did a really good job at filming that, and that's going to make life a lot easier for people. On that note, I'd also like to say that in the very near future, or in the near future, our hope is to have testing online for recertification for people who need to recertify. Most of our certifications last 5 years, and instead of making the student come back and take it again, we're probably going to allow them to just retest online.
That'll really add for convenience. Now, can someone come to a regional event and retest as well? Is that an option if they until that happens? Okay.
Certainly. Yep, that is an option.
So the BAT standards, I understand, is that it's been kind of recognized by the Fish and Wildlife Service or the White Nose Syndrome Committee?
Yeah, the White Nose Syndrome, that's very much true. The White Nose Symposium Committee and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, we've had a number of biologists sit through the class now. They're very happy with the class. They're very glad that we're teaching the class. When we first got involved in this, we were shocked to discover that a lot of the biologists around the country thought that we were killing the bats. And so we're being preemptive here by also educating biologists that we're teaching conservation. We don't want to harm the bats. So that class is very popular, and so far has been, very much liked by government agencies. Some states are mandating it now. Virginia is mandating that you take this class, and I think others will probably follow. And this is mainly due to white nose syndrome, because it's decimating the little brown bat population. They're very worried about conservation and technique and time of year of working with bats. So
yeah, I think that's Montana. We have no regulations governing bats, but for Montana, the state biologists have said that they will only refer to technicians who have passed the class. So that's kind of that's probably the best they could do given the regulatory looseness that we have in Montana. But that's definitely a step in terms of how much they respected the class. So talk about so there's also a level 2 now to that bat course, and that's a 2-day class, you said. And you just recently did one in Minneapolis, I understand.
Yeah, we've taught it twice now. It's been quite popular, very well attended. This class gets a little bit more into detail on pricing, sales, liabilities, your contracts. We actually go out and do an inspection, do a mock-up, contract. We talk about safety, PPE, decontamination protocols. We get into decontamination, attic restoration in much more detail. We can't really get into that in a one-day class. So this class, we really dive into that. There's also a hands-on interactive instruction. You learn about working at heights, use of scaffolding, ladders, logistical concerns, metal bending, classroom instruction. And we also talk about ridge repairs, roof exhaust vent repairs, chimney repairs. So there's one of the 2 days is a classroom setting, and the second day is primarily hands-on or in the field.
Wow, that's amazing. Is there a level 3 in the distant future? Is that also planned, or is that just too far away for you to even contemplate at this point?
I don't. That's not in the works. So.
Okay. Well, let's talk about wildlife control operator training course. Describe that for our viewers.
That's listeners. A 2-day. This is the BAT standards and the WCOTC, the Wildlife Control Operator Training Program. These are our two most popular classes. They're starting to. Other ones are becoming quite popular, but these are we've had these classes the longest, and they're probably the most useful to, especially to like entry level. Although this class here, we've had students sit through this that have been doing wildlife control for 15 plus years, saying they didn't think they were going to learn anything, and they walked out saying, wow, I really learned a lot. So that class is a 2-day class. It utilizes 11 different modules, which covers about 14 and a half hours of instruction. It's mainly organized around 3 dominant areas: the rationale and need for wildlife damage management, the technician, the practice of wildlife damage management, and applied wildlife damage management. We talk about zoonotic disease, worker safety, inspecting a structure, customer service and ethics. On the second day, we get more into species modules. We've got a module on bats, a module on birds. There's a module on squirrels, raccoons, skunks. So it's a very good, broad, 2-day, touches on most of the common things that we deal with.
So do you think it would be a class where it would save someone a lot of money from making bad mistakes?
I think all of our classes.
Okay. Well, touche. Yes, absolutely. So it is certainly, that's the Wildlife Control Operator Training course. So is there a level 2 to the Wildlife Control Operator training course?
There was an advanced operator training class, and what we've decided is that class was it was kind of slow to get off the ground. It had a lot of really good information in it, but a lot of what was there was kind of heavy on the business end. And what we discovered was that business owners and managers didn't want to send technicians to a class that was discussing, website management, SEO, insurance requirements. And so what we're going to do with that class is we're going to pull those business heavy modules out and replace them with technician modules. So excuse me, instead of having these business modules, we'll have modules like, we'll probably have one on aquatic mammal control, beavers and muskrats, a module on the other birds, we call it, like the birds that guys get calls on, but they're not as common, ravens, Muscovy ducks. Probably put another module in there on repairs. So we want to make that advanced operator training class much more friendly to not only owners and operators and managers, but to technicians. And then eventually, at some point, which probably will be more than a year out, our hope is to take those modules, add to those business modules, and have a business owner/manager course.
Nice.
So that's our intention with that. So the AOTC, it's called, we have not taught it in a year and a half, 2 years, but we're hoping to have that resolved by next year's expo so that we can once again teach that class.
And when is that expo next year? Do you have some approximate dates?
I know it's early February.
Okay, early February, and it's going to be in Florida. Is that correct?
That is correct. Don't know yet exactly what town.
All right, so everyone, I think it's the first week of February, in Florida, so we don't have the exact date of the exact site of the city, but it's certainly going to probably be warmer than where you're going to be in terms of the audience at that time of year. So definitely make it a chance. And so, because the expo has not only training events for day one of the expo and day two, but they also bracket the expo with certified trainings before and after the event. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, so let's talk a little about the Goose Academy. So that's not offered every year.
No, it's typically offered every other year, just because it's such a specialty niche market. This is a 2-day training event. It provides practical, real-world training. The students actually go out and do a goose roundup. It's kind of like the BAT 2 class, the structural BAT class. We have one day is primarily classroom, and the second day is primarily in the field. So the students get to go out and actually help conduct a goose roundup. The geese are captured, they're put in pens, and hauled away. It's in Indiana, and the birds there are euthanized. The students are encouraged to go and actually even learn correct euthanasia techniques with the birds. It's not mandatory. They don't have to kill them if they don't want, but we encourage them to do that.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's having been to one of those, it is if you want to do goose control, if that's something that your state allowed, even if you can't do any of the roundups or euthanasia, the hazing and the habitat modification and the use of repellents information is will make you money.
Oh, yeah, we cover biology, damage identification, legal issues, public relations, control techniques, including repellents. We even have Carla Wagner speaks on using dogs. So like Stephen said, even if you're not able to do a goose roundup and or euthanize birds, there's plenty of other techniques out there. I was recently at a fairly large wildlife control company doing some private training, NUCOA certified training for them, but kind of a canned event. And I was really shocked to see the outfits that they had in their storage facility for applying repellents. They've got crew going out just doing that, and obviously making a lot of money. So
sure. Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to doing goose work here in Montana because we have some geese starting to fill up along our. We have a small Big Spring Creek going near my property, and I'm looking forward to see the geese starting to increase in numbers each spring, and so I'm like, oh, can't wait until the state allows some changes out here. So definitely look into that. So we've talked about the BAT Standards course, BAT Standards 2. We've talked about Wildlife Control Operator Training course, the Advanced Operator Training course, which you said is undergoing some revision. Talked about the Goose Academy. Let's talk about the Shooting in Sensitive Environments class. So shooting is cool.
Yeah, this class is really awesome. The students really seem to enjoy it. It was designed primarily by Dr. Tony DiNicola quite a few years back, and originally it was kind of designed along the thoughts that operators would use this training to do urban deer control, but the class has morphed into a much more a much broader approach. What Dr. DiNicola, myself, and others realized was that most of our students that are in that class are not going to go shoot deer. They're shooting birds in a store, or they're shooting woodchucks at a power plant. And so we've modified that class quite a bit to where it doesn't matter what you're going to go out and shoot. The course is applicable. So that was a 2-day class that has now become a 3-day class, because what we realized is, even though we tell the students in advance that they should come with a basic level of marksmanship in their pocket, many don't. And we still encourage people that if you're going to take this class, you should have at least be somewhat familiar with, the weapon that you're shooting. You should go to a range. We have students show up that aren't even on paper. You should at least be able to hit your target at 50 yards. So the other thing that happened with this class is we started getting more and more students that showed up using air rifles. And one of the classes we taught, I think it was last year, a year before, actually half the students had air rifles. Wow. So, and we're open to that. That's fine. We're probably going to be bringing somebody else on staff to help with the air rifles. So we break the range up. We've got the air rifle people down on one end, and then typically we've got people shooting lower velocity stuff down at the next end, 22s, 223s, and then the guys shooting larger calibers are down at the other end. So we can accommodate any of that. But it's Dr. D. Nicola and Jared, the other instructor, is a former Navy SEAL. These guys are intense. This is their life, is shooting. And so even, being having been in the Marine Corps, I can say it's a humbling experience. It's funny because the students who show up that think that they're the best, the guys who show up who think they're snipers are the ones that typically struggle the most. Yeah. But last year we had a student that had never shot ever in her life, and she followed my instructions. She went to a range before she came to the class and started to familiarize herself with her weapon, and she passed level 1 and level 2. So wow. It's certainly not anything to be afraid of. Just be prepared to spend a couple hard days on a range. So it was a 2-day class, but what we discovered was that 2 days wasn't really quite enough. The level 1 takes up all of day 1. Yeah. And then level 2, which gets into some shooting out at some more distance and some positional shooting. It 1 day wasn't enough time. So we've now made the class 3 days. So level 1 is the first day, and then level 2 is day 2 and 3. Now this class, you don't have to take level 2 and 3. Most students, level 2. Most students do take level 2, but you don't have to. You could just take level 1. So, awesome class. Like I said, the students we usually have to shoo the students off the range. A couple years ago, we were teaching it, and these guys were missing dinner. They didn't even want to leave to go eat dinner. You just get so dialed in that you just want to stay there. So awesome class. We'll be teaching that this year. I'll go over the calendar with you, so we'll talk about the dates, but that will be taught this year again. Highly recommended if you're using any sort of a air rifle or firearm to do any sort of wildlife control.
Are there any trainings that we're missing yet? Is that?
Yeah, you're missing a few.
Okay.
You're missing the zoonotic disease awareness class.
Okay. Talk about that one.
That's this is a fairly new class. It's really taken off in popularity. It's Dr. Jay Tischendorf, who's a licensed veterinarian, also a lot of experience with wildlife. This is a full day class. I think when it first came out, a lot of people were kind of apprehensive and thought, this was going to be super difficult. Dr. J is an awesome instructor. It's not over anyone's head. He breaks it down.
Yeah, I just took it.
He breaks it down in a great way. And he goes through everything, kind of the history of infectious and zoonotic disease. What are the primary pathogens, routes of infection. And then he gets into a lot of the specific diseases, patterns of disease, some prevention, so some cleanup. He again, when the class first started out, that our attendance wasn't really high. Now the attendance is going way up, partially probably due to social media. People take the class and they go on social media and say, wow, this class was awesome. So that's a new one. We've only had that now for just over a year, I think, maybe a year and a half. So that's a new class. Really good class. It's one day. It's all classroom. Just because of Dr. J's schedule, we can't teach that everywhere all the time. But if he's available, he's actually even already done one canned event for a company that wanted to hire him to come. So he's also available for that if his schedule allows. So that's an awesome class. Highly recommend that one. The other class you didn't talk about that's brand new, just taught for the first time at the expo, is the rodent standards certified class.
Right.
This class sold out at the expo, had not been taught yet, and sold out.
It was packed.
I think that pretty much speaks for the need for this class. And part of the reason that we put this class together was and Stephen and I have had this discussion many times. When we saw training or discussions in the pest control industry and in the wildlife control, it seemed like it was almost always about Norway rats and house mice. And the reality is, a lot of people around the country, like here where I live, and a lot of the northern states and Northeast, the most common rodent we see in a home is paramyscus, is deer mice or white-footed mice. And so we wanted to get into that material and also talk about, other roof rats, voles. So we start off talking, laws, regulations, some toxicants, biology, behavior, diet, reproductive habits. We talk about control methods. We talk about inspection and ID. We talk about habitat management and exclusion. Get into aspects of rodent exclusion from the top to the bottom, tools, materials. And we also touch on disease. So this class I already have 2 requests to teach this again this year. So
wow.
I think this class is going to become one of the most popular courses that we offer. Chris Honeycutt is the master NUCOA instructor for that class. He did a great job at putting that together. Drew Cowley is an instructor. Charles Holt, myself. So great class. Great. It could only get better if it comes out that good at the very beginning. That's something to be said. So
yeah, it was packed. When we have 78 people in that class, it was packed.
We had people on a waiting list.
Yeah, it was amazing. Hey, so we have all these trainings in NUCOA that are certainly starting to really generate a lot of attention. Anything in the pipeline before, because I don't want to leave our conversation until you discuss a little bit of the calendar and then how people can get a hold of you and order those trainings for themselves or get that information. I want to be sure we don't leave that out.
No problem. The only class you did leave out, Stephen, is we have a bird management course, and that's gaining in popularity. The reason that we did this class is, Bird Barrier has a really good course, but we actually encourage people to take their course, but they don't get into the biology and the laws and the zoonotic diseases quite as much. And this one-day bird class that we offer, this is the bird work that like one-man operations or small operations can handle. The everyday bird calls, woodpeckers, starlings and vents, small sparrow jobs, small netting jobs. And so that's why we designed that class. Eventually, we will have a structural bird class that'll be like the bat class, where we'll actually go out to a job site, bid a job, talk about different techniques. When we come out with that second bird class, this will be a prerequisite. You will have to have taken this class. So That's all the classes, Stephen.
Okay.
If you want to talk a little bit about training, I can go down the list real quick and just kind of tell you where I'm going to be and what we're doing. We've got an event coming up here in Virginia on March 6th and 7th. That's the Wildlife Control Operator Training class, and they're also teaching the bird course. That's in Glen Allen, Virginia.
Okay.
We have a Rodent Standards Certified class on April 16th in Terre Haute, Indiana. That's Will Langman with Pest Block. He's going to also have a OSHA Lift Certified course there, and he'll also offer a Pest Block Certified training. So our rodent class is on April 16th. We have a Shooting in Sensitive Environments class, level 1 and 2, April 27th through the 29th in Rocky Mount, Virginia. We have a Bat Standard Certified, the Part 1 on May 1st in Yorktown, Virginia. We have the Structural Bat Management Professional, which is the 2-day class, May 2nd and 3rd in Yorktown, Virginia. We have the Bat Standards and the Wildlife Control Operator Training class, May 12th and 13th in Boise, Idaho.
Oh, coming out here. All right.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that one. The Idaho Department of Fish and Game is letting us use their facilities. They're very happy that we're coming out there. So I highly recommend, if you're from Idaho or nearby states, take advantage of that fact that we'll be in Boise. So this one we didn't talk about, but it's I think it's going to go through. So we're trying to develop a reptiles and amphibians standards and venomous safety class, and we've been working with a company from out in Colorado. We've been working for quite a while with him on this. I'm pretty sure that we're going to be able to pull this off. This class should be awesome. Anybody especially doing venomous and even non-venomous snakes, they'll want to attend this class. So it'll be a 2-level class. Level 1 will be non-venomous, and then level 2 on the second day, you will actually be handling venomous snakes. That course size will be very limited. The level 1 won't be as limited. We can take a lot more students, but once we put students with venomous snakes, because of the laws and insurance, we have to limit the number of students. Right. So that's gonna be an exciting one coming up, and that's supposed to be May 28th through the 30th in Florida, but we don't know yet exactly where in Florida.
Okay. Where would someone stay tuned? Would they sign up for the NUCOA news alerts or get onto our Facebook page?
Yeah, if you're not on the NUCOA Facebook page, I highly recommend everybody get on there. You'll see a lot of this information there. It should also be on NUCOA.com on our website. It should show up under training. It should show up on the calendar, so you can always check those places as well. So that's going to be it. Go ahead, Stephen.
So if someone, so let's go over that information. So we have the NUCOA.com, the NUCOA Facebook page. You don't have to be a member to be on we have a public side and then a private side. So the public side, you can join the NUCOA page without being a member. You don't have to be a member of NUCOA to be on that. Just sign up and we'll let you in. And then the NUCOA.com, NWCOA.com, that'll have the calendar on there for upcoming events to definitely follow up. And if someone wanted to explore getting one of your training events closer to their area, talk a little bit about that process, about how they would go about. What do they need to do on their end so they're not wasting anybody's time?
Well, I'm not going to go into great detail here. I'd highly recommend you reach out to me. You can reach me directly. You feel free to call me. My number is 231-838-3396. or you can email me at gregschumaker@gmail.com. That's GreggSchumaker@gmail.com. But basically what it's going to be, though, is, I'm not done reading the calendar yet. You can see my calendar is pretty darn full.
Okay.
We look at a lot of things. What are the demographics? How many operators are in the area? Do I have boots on the ground? Do I have somebody willing to help me try to facilitate this? So I'm willing to work with anybody to try to, get events in your area. But we do have, we do have some parameters. We don't want to be, we're a nonprofit. We're okay with, not making a lot of money, but we don't want to be losing money. So I can't come to an event and train, 5 guys. Now, if you want to do canned events, which that's, like I said, that's your company, or even if you wanted to get 2 other company owners and group together and say, okay, between the 3 of us, we've got, 15 technicians or 20 technicians, that would work. And the way that works is you pay a set fee for up to, I think it's 20 students. Mm-hmm. And then beyond 20, you pay an additional fee per head. So again, we'll go anywhere so long as we can meet the criteria. So
plan early. So because you're booked out 9-12 months in advance now, it looks like, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm adding. I've got a few windows here.
Right.
I'll go down through the rest real quick. We've got the Goose Academy June 22nd and 23rd in Indianapolis. We will also be teaching, Dr. J will be teaching the zoonotic disease class on June 24th in Indianapolis. So you got 2 days of Goose class, and then you've got a day of Dr. J. The rodent standard certified class is going to be taught again on September 10th in Hartford, Connecticut. That's at Alan Hewitt's shop. If anyone has had the opportunity to go there, that's kind of cool. Alan does an open house. We've been going every year now and doing training there. It's pretty cool. You get to walk around the warehouse.
That's the wildlife control supplies, right?
Correct. Wildlife control supplies. So that'll be hosted by him. So we're doing the rodent class on September 10th. And I believe we're doing the bird. We're either doing bird or zoonotic. I'm not sure. September 11th. Those are both in Hartford. Bat standard certified. That's going to be held again September 24th in Syracuse, Indiana. That's at Tony's Series facility. That's the American Animal Control facility. And then on the 25th and the 26th, we will do the structural bat management class. So he's got a very nice facility there. We did it there last year. He's a great host. That should be great. We are going to be doing a wildlife control operator training class October 16th through 18th in Knoxville, Tennessee. And we're also going to be doing something a little different there during those dates. And we're going to probably be having like one day of just general session, like kind of like they do at the expo, and we'll have 5 speakers or 4 speakers, something, give 5 different presentations, not certified training, just general information sessions. So we've not done that. We're trying to experiment with that a little bit to see if we could do some regional training events like that.
Okay.
So that tentatively that is going to be held 16 through 18 in Knoxville, Tennessee. And then the last one I have, and I forgot one. The last one I have is November 9th through the 11th. I plan on going to Portland and teaching the wildlife control operator training class. That one is not set in stone, but I'm pretty confident that I'll be going out to Portland. One last thing that I didn't mention is it's looking pretty positive that we're going to do this. And so Tomahawk Live Trap Company has reached out to us, and they wanted to host an open house and a training event at their facility in Wisconsin. And so it sounds like we're going to be doing, I think it's bat standards and zoonotic disease. It's going to be the third week in August, and it'll be at Tomahawk's facility, which it's near Tomahawk, Wisconsin, but it's not right there.
Yeah, it's just north. It's just north of there. I made that mistake once. It's just about 10 miles north of Tomahawk.
Yeah, I can't think of the name of the
Iola?
Right, no, it's called Hazelhurst.
Hazelhurst, right. There you go.
That's it.
Hazelhurst. Yep.
But so we're also going to do so they're going to have an open house. We'll get to tour the facility. So kind of cool. You'll have a couple days of training, and then you'll have, an open house there at Tomahawk. And we're also going to do there's a lot of campgrounds right around there. So we're going to kind of do a working retreat thing where if people want to stay for a couple days after, we're going to try to get a bunch of people to camp out and, good camaraderie, hang out with a bunch of like-minded people. And that should be, pretty awesome. So that looks like that's going to go through. So yeah, it's constantly being added to, Stephen, but as my year goes on, like you were saying, there's only so much time on the calendar. So
plan early. So I would encourage people, if you're interested in getting training, look at the calendar, make the trip, go visit. Otherwise, if you're looking to host the training, definitely get on Gregg's calendar as soon as possible. You may need to start planning for 2021. So it's an amazing thing. Well, thank you very much, Gregg. We want to thank you for stopping by the Pest Geek Podcast, our segment, Living the Wildlife. And just a reminder to everyone, if you need additional information, go to nucoa.com. That's NWCOA.com. Do visit Nucoa on their Facebook page. You can sign up. You don't have to be a member to join that Facebook page for additional information. And then, of course, Gregg gave his contact information and where you can call him if you're looking to get more details. But definitely take advantage of these training opportunities. If you don't think there's something available, there is, and more is definitely coming. Well, hey, thanks, Stephen, yes.
One last thing real quick. The people, if you want to get on the Nucoa Facebook page, we get a lot of requests from people, and we do get some antis trying to get in there and some robots, whatever. It asks you to answer a couple of questions. Please answer those questions, folks, or we won't let you in. They're simple questions. Just answer them.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. They're trying to just hold back some of the spam folks, because we want people that are really interested in wildlife control. So yes, absolutely. So definitely, if you're serious, answer the questions, but you don't have to be a member of Nucoa to join. We'd love to have you. We have over 1,000 people on that page now. And so it's fairly, it could always be more active, but it's fairly active. So it certainly is going to be a place where Gregg regularly posts information about some of his training events, and it's a dynamic field. So things sort of pop up here and there. So if you're not paying attention, you may miss something, but definitely take advantage of this. Well, thank you very much, Gregg, for stopping by. I'm Stephen Van Tassel, Living the Wildlife from wildlifecontrolconsultant.com for the Pest Geek Podcast. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Till next time.
Thank you for listening to the Pest Geek Podcast. If you have enjoyed the Pest Geek Podcast, please give us a rating, write a review, or subscribe to the channel. You can join the Pest Geek Society by visiting pestgeekpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. See you next time.